Hello and welcome to the World 360. I'm Varnika Dhawan and today we look at three major global developments of the week. First, Prime Minister Narendra Modi's Japan tour for his first ever summit with PM Ishiba and his China tour for the SCO summit. Second, we look at Australia's unprecedented step of expelling Iran's ambassadors days after Netanyahu reprimanded PM Albanese. And finally, Israel's double strike on Gaza's Nasser hospital, killing journalists and health workers. Prime Minister Narendra Modi is all set to go on a diplomatic tour beginning with Japan from August 29 to 30, followed by China for the Shanghai Cooperation Organization Summit from August 31 to September 1. This marks PM Modi's eighth visit to Japan, but his first ever summit with the new Japanese Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba. Modi will participate in the 15th India Japan Annual Summit in Tokyo on August 29. The Ministry of External Affairs, in a press conference on Tuesday, said that the discussions will focus on defense and security, trade and investments, science, technology and innovation, people to people exchange. After Tokyo, both leaders will travel together on a bullet train to Sendai, which is a hub for semiconductor innovation. Notably, Japan holds a 30% share of the global market for semiconductor equipment sales. The two leaders are also expected to announce several new initiatives. Defense cooperation has emerged as one of the strongest pillars of India Japan ties. Some of the key developments in the ambit between DRDO in India and ATLA in Japan are shared by Foreign Secretary Vikram Misri in the press briefing. These are as follows. First, upgrading the 2008 Joint Declaration on Security Cooperation to match today's geopolitical realities. This declaration was signed on October 2008 during the Japan India Annual Summit in Tokyo by Japan's then Prime Minister Taro Aso and India's PM Dr. Manmohan Singh. The agreement's aim was to boost cooperation in security and work together for peace and stability in Asia and across the world. Second, collaboration on defense equipment and technology transfers. Third, the co-development of the Unicorn project, a unified complex radio antenna for the Indian Navy, which was agreed upon in November 2024. Foreign Secretary Misri said that the two countries are already working on co-developing the Unicorn project, which is a common radar mast for use by Indian Navy platforms. Misri also said that the India Japan partnership in space technology is also accelerating. ISRO and JAXA are collaborating on the LUPEX Lunar Polar Exploration Mission, which is being developed alongside Chandrayaan 5. He also highlighted opportunities for Indian space startups to participate in advanced research and deployments. After Japan, PM Modi will head to Tianjin, China for the 25th SCO summit at the invitation of President Xi Jinping. India is expected to push for a strong condemnation of cross border terrorism in the SCO declaration. Bilateral meetings are also expected on the sidelines, including one with Xi Jinping, the first ever meeting since their agreement in October 2024 to end the 4-year military standoff at the LAC. Leaders from Russia, Pakistan, Iran, and several other countries will also participate, making this a high stake multilateral forum. Now, let's talk about the Australia Iran row. Australia took a harsh diplomatic step on Tuesday and expelled Iran's ambassador and three senior diplomats after accusing Tehran of orchestrating anti Semitic arson attacks in Sydney and Melbourne. The step of Australia marks the first ever expulsion of a foreign envoy from the country since World War II. On Tuesday, Prime Minister Anthony Albanese claimed that Australia's intelligence agency, ASIO, had gathered credible evidence which links Tehran's key branch of the armed forces, the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, IRGC, to at least two attacks last year. Of these attacks, one targeted in October 2024 at the Adas Israel Synagogue in Melbourne, a site which was built by Holocaust survivors in the 1960s. And another took place in October 2024 in Louis Continental Kitchen, a kosher restaurant in Sydney. Albanese said yesterday that these were extraordinary and dangerous acts of aggression by a foreign nation on Australian soil. They were designed to undermine social cohesion and sow division within our communities. Meanwhile, Iran has denied all allegations. It has called Australia's actions, quote, politically motivated and has accused Canberra of appeasing Israel. Iranian Foreign Minister Syed Abbas said, for Iran to attack Australia's Jewish community makes zero sense. Iran also warned of reciprocal actions and labeled Prime Minister Albanese a weak politician. Despite Tehran's denial, Australian authorities remain firm in their assessment. Canberra has taken several unprecedented measures. It has expelled Iran's ambassador Ahmad Sadeghi and three other diplomats, giving them 7 days of warning to leave the country. Australia has closed the Australian embassy in Tehran and has relocated diplomats to a third country for safety. It has also raised the travel advisory for Australians in Iran to the highest level of quote, do not travel. Canberra is also planning to designate the IRGC as a terrorist organization, a move that aligns Australia with many other countries like the US, Canada, Saudi Arabia, Sweden, and Bahrain. These countries have already blacklisted the IRGC. Remember, these developments come amid growing domestic tensions since the Israel Gaza war began in October 2023. Australia has witnessed a sharp rise in anti Semitic incidents, Islamophobic attacks, and anti Arab bias. Australia's decision is also unfolding against a backdrop of strained relations with Israel. Earlier this month, Canberra recognized a Palestinian state, which led to a war of words between Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and Australian PM Albanese. Netanyahu has called Albanese a weak politician who betrayed Israel. Despite this, Israel's embassy in Australia praised the expulsion, saying Iran's actions endanger the entire free world. Netanyahu posted on X on Wednesday that I am pleased that Australia decided to expel the Iranian ambassador after it was revealed that Iran was behind two anti Semitic incidents in the country. He added, this is the first step and hopefully not the last. Now let's come to Gaza's deadly strike on Nasser hospital this Monday. On August 26, Israeli forces carried out two consecutive airstrikes on Nasser hospital in Khan Yunis, southern Gaza. At least 20 people were killed, including 5 journalists and 4 health workers, according to Gaza's health ministry and the WHO. Among them were Reuters cameraman Hussam Al Masri, AP freelancer Mariam Daga, and Al Jazeera contributor Mohammed Salama. The Israel Defense Forces so far has confirmed that only 6 were killed. Witnesses said that the second strike happened 15 minutes after the first, hitting rescuers, health workers, and journalists who had rushed to help victims. Meanwhile, Israeli PM Netanyahu called the strike a tragic mishap. The Israel Defense Forces released a preliminary report on Tuesday to investigate the deadly Monday attack. The Israeli army said that the twin strike on Gaza's Nasser hospital was aimed at a Hamas installed camera that, according to them, was monitoring IDF troop movements. It claimed that 6 of those killed were terror operatives, including one who had participated in the October 7 attacks. Although IDF has provided no evidence to back the claim, the report admits there are gaps in the investigation, including who authorized the strike, what type of ammunition was used, and why a second strike followed so soon after the first. The final investigation is still ongoing. Meanwhile, Hamas rejected Israel's claim that any of those killed were terrorists. Its media office said that of the 6 Palestinians labeled as militants by Israel, one had been killed in Al Mawasi, away from the hospital, and another in a separate incident at a different time. The group did not specify whether those 2 individuals were civilians. The incident sparked strong international condemnation. The EU called the strike completely unacceptable and urged Israel to protect civilians and journalists. The Foreign Press Association noted that the shells hit a hospital staircase where journalists frequently gathered, adding that the attack came without warning. The United Nations also condemned the strike and called for a prompt, impartial investigation. World Health Organization confirmed that 4 health workers were killed and warned that Gaza's last functioning hospitals are at quote unquote breaking point. Following the strike, protests erupted across Israel, especially in Tel Aviv and Jerusalem. Demonstrators demanded a hostage release deal with Hamas and end to the war. Protesters also targeted Prime Minister Netanyahu's office, blaming the government for failing to secure the release of Israeli hostages. Meanwhile, Netanyahu chaired a security cabinet meeting shortly after the incident. The cabinet reportedly discussed plans for the next stage of military operations in Gaza City and strategies for hostage negotiations. No discussions on a ceasefire were held despite international pressure. We will be tracking closely what's happening around the world and how these developments can impact us here. This is it from me in today's World 360. Thank you for watching.